So, let's dive into the world of Shane Gillis. He's a name that's been buzzing around the comedy scene and beyond, sparking conversations and drawing in a massive audience. He's a comedian hailing from the heart of Pennsylvania, a place that seems to have shaped his comedic perspective and provided him with a unique storytelling lens. Gillis has cultivated a massive, fiercely loyal following, a testament to his ability to connect with people on a genuine level. His fans appreciate his unfiltered humor and his willingness to push boundaries. He's particularly known for his raw, blue-collar style, a comedic approach that resonates with everyday folks who appreciate a comedian who speaks their language. Gillis brings an everyman style to the stage, making him incredibly relatable to a wide range of people. He's the kind of comedian you feel like you could grab a beer with after the show. His comedy is unfiltered, often venturing into territory that other comedians might shy away from. He's not afraid to speak his mind and challenge conventional thinking. A lot of his material revolves around family, drawing on his own experiences and observations to create hilarious and often heartwarming stories. He also talks about friends, the kind of camaraderie and shared experiences that shape our lives and provide endless fodder for comedic exploration. And of course, sports, a topic near and dear to the hearts of many, and a subject that Gillis tackles with passion and humor. Ultimately, he makes audiences feel like they're just hanging out with a buddy, sharing laughs and trading stories. It's this sense of connection that makes him so appealing. Now, you might remember that after being fired from SNL in 2019, a moment that could have derailed many careers, over controversial podcast clips that resurfaced, sparking a nationwide debate about comedy and its boundaries. He didn't disappear. In fact, quite the opposite. Instead of fading into obscurity, he doubled down on stand-up and podcasting, using these platforms to connect with his audience on his own terms. He focused on building his audience outside the mainstream, cultivating a dedicated fan base that appreciated his unique brand of humor. This resilience and defiance made him a symbol for anti-cancel culture, a figurehead for those who believe in the importance of free speech and the right to comedic expression. And his stand-up specials like Live in Austin, which showcased his sharp wit and observational humor, and Beautiful Dogs, which further cemented his status as a comedic force to be reckoned with, became viral hits, spreading like wildfire across the internet and solidifying his place in the comedy landscape. They gained massive traction, especially on platforms like YouTube, where his clips and full performances racked up millions of views. And of course Netflix, where his specials found a wider audience and further amplified his reach. Beyond comedy, he's also a huge sports fan, a passion that often bleeds into his stand-up and podcasting work. In fact, his podcast, Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast, co-hosted with his longtime friend Matt McCusker, is wildly popular among sports enthusiasts, offering a unique blend of sports commentary, humor, and unfiltered conversation. So when ESPN tapped him to host the 2025 ESPYs, one of the biggest nights in sports, it sent shockwaves through both the comedy and sports worlds. It was undeniably a bold move, a high-stakes gamble that could either pay off handsomely or backfire spectacularly. By bringing in a polarizing, authentic voice like Shane Gillis, ESPN was taking a risk, betting that his unique perspective would resonate with a broad audience. It was a move that acknowledged the growing influence of alternative voices and the power of connecting with the world of sports fandom on a more personal level. The stage was set for a night unlike any other, a collision of comedy, sports, and potentially controversy. It was a moment that could either be a triumph, solidifying Gillis's place as a mainstream comedic force, or a train wreck, further fueling the debate about comedy, controversy, and the ever-shifting boundaries of entertainment. The ESPYs are a unique mix. Elite athletes, sports journalists, execs, and fans, not your typical comedy crowd. The room is earnest, celebrating real achievements and comeback stories, making it a tough place for edgy comedy. ESPN's choice of Shane Gillis as host was a clear attempt to shake things up and attract a younger online audience. The announcement itself sparked debate. Some cheered, others braced for disaster. Hosting the ESPYs isn't just about telling jokes. It's about setting the tone, reading the room, and keeping everyone engaged. For Shane, it was a shot at mainstream redemption, but also a risk. His outsider persona clashing with a very insider event. Could he bring his signature style without alienating the room or betraying his fan base? That was the big question. The ESPYs needed a spark, but the stakes were high. All eyes were on whether Shane could walk the tightrope. Shane Gillis's comedy thrives on poking at sensitivities, venturing into territory that many comedians avoid. He's known for pushing boundaries and challenging conventional norms, and dancing on the edge of what's acceptable. His jokes often flirt with controversial topics, sparking debate and strong reactions from audiences. He navigates the fine line between humor and offense with a calculated risk. His fans see him as honest and fearless, appreciating his willingness to tackle uncomfortable subjects head-on. They admire his unfiltered perspective and his refusal to bow to political correctness. Reflecting thoughts most people won't say out loud, he gives voice to the unspoken, tapping into a raw and unfiltered stream of consciousness that resonates with a segment of the population. This creates a fiercely loyal, almost club-like following, a dedicated fan base that feels a sense of camaraderie and shared understanding. They see themselves as part of an exclusive group that appreciates Gillis's unique brand of humor. People who defend him online and see criticism as proof of his authenticity. They view negative reactions as further validation of his comedic genius, reinforcing their belief that he's speaking truth to power. But to outsiders, his jokes can feel like lazy shock, or even reinforce harmful stereotypes. They may perceive his humor as insensitive, offensive, and lacking in genuine wit or originality. The line between edgy and insensitive is blurry, and Shane lives in that gray area, constantly pushing the boundaries of what's considered acceptable in comedy. He thrives on the tension and discomfort that his jokes can create. The ESPYs audience, though, isn't his usual crowd. It's a far cry from the comedy clubs and theaters where he typically performs. It's a broad, diverse mix, not a self-selecting group of fans. This audience represents a wide range of backgrounds, beliefs, and sensitivities, making it a challenging environment for Gillis's provocative style. Dropping his brand of humor into this setting was always going to be divisive, a gamble that could either pay off handsomely or result in a major misfire. The stakes were high, and the potential for controversy was undeniable. The question wasn't if he'd split the room, but whether he could win over enough of it to succeed. Could he bridge the gap between his loyal fan base and the broader audience, or would his jokes fall flat in this unfamiliar setting? The Gillis effect, love it or hate it, a phenomenon that has become synonymous with his polarizing brand of comedy, was about to be tested on a massive stage. The ESPYs provided a platform unlike any he had encountered before, a chance to reach a global audience and either solidify his reputation or face widespread condemnation. Would his style translate, or would it backfire? The answer was about to be revealed as Shane Gillis took to the stage and unleashed his unique brand of humor upon the unsuspecting ESPYs audience. Let's break down the monologue and really dissect what went wrong. We need to understand why certain jokes didn't resonate and how the overall performance fell short of expectations. It's not just about pointing fingers, but about learning from this experience. The issue wasn't that the jokes were too edgy, it was that many just weren't funny. There's a difference between pushing boundaries and simply missing the mark. Comedy relies on timing, relatability, and a certain level of surprise, and in this case, those elements were often absent. The setups fizzled, punchlines missed, leaving the audience hanging. It's like building a house with a weak foundation. The structure is bound to collapse. A good setup creates anticipation, and a strong punchline delivers the payoff. And the room was left with awkward silences or polite chuckles. That polite applause is often the sound of a comedian's worst nightmare. It signifies that the joke was acknowledged, but not truly appreciated or enjoyed. Many references were too niche, appealing to a very specific subset of the audience, requiring inside knowledge that most of the audience didn't have. When you alienate a large portion of your audience with obscure references, you're essentially speaking a different language. Comedy should be inclusive, not exclusive. Good sports comedy finds universal truths. It taps into shared experiences and emotions that resonate with a broad audience, regardless of their specific sports knowledge. Shane's jokes often felt like deep cuts that flew over heads, leaving many scratching theirs in confusion. The pacing was off, with jokes either rushed or drawn out unnecessarily, and the set felt like disconnected bits rather than a cohesive monologue. There was no sense of flow or build-up, making it difficult for the audience to stay engaged. A WNBA joke, for example, landed flat. It just sat there, lifeless. Not because it was shocking, but because it was uninspired. It lacked originality and failed to offer a fresh perspective. The monologue lacked a clear comedic point of view. It felt like a series of random observations without a central theme. Was he roasting, celebrating, or critiquing sports culture? The audience couldn't quite figure out what he was trying to say. Great hosts have a thesis. They have a clear message or perspective that guides their entire performance. Shane's set felt directionless, like a ship without a rudder, drifting aimlessly at sea. In the end, it was neither edgy enough to be memorable, to spark conversation, nor charming enough to win over skeptics, to disarm the critics. The result, a performance that just didn't connect, leaving the audience feeling underwhelmed and disconnected. To understand the ESPYs flop, look at Shane's other big moments. On SNL, he thrived, doing a tight, well-received stand-up set for an audience that knew what to expect. His Netflix show Tires is pure Gillis, self-made, authentic, and tailored for his fans. In those settings, he's in control, playing to his strengths. The ESPYs, though, was a different beast, a corporate structured event where he was a hired gun, not the creator. Hosting an awards show requires adaptability and charm, not just raw stand-up skills. Shane's usual tools didn't fit. He couldn't go full Gillis, but he also didn't pivot to a broader appeal. The result was a performance stuck in the middle, neither true to his brand nor suited to the event. It was a classic case of the right comedian in the wrong context. The disconnect was obvious, and the show suffered for it. ESPN's choice was no accident. It was a calculated gamble to make the ESPYs relevant again. Awards shows are losing cultural traction, and ESPN wanted buzz, hoping Shane would draw in a younger online audience. The upside: new viewers, viral moments, and a fresh edge. The risk: alienating athletes, sponsors, and the broader audience if things went sideways. ESPN bet that Shane could be just edgy enough to be interesting, but not so much as to cause real damage. In the end, the monologue wasn't a disaster or a triumph. It just happened. The real failure wasn't controversy, but ineffectiveness. ESPN wanted a lightning rod, but got a fizzled firecracker. The gamble didn't pay off, and the show felt flat. In comedy, there's edgy, there's offensive, and then there's just not funny. The best comics Carlin Pryor were edgy and brilliant, using shock as a byproduct of genius, not the goal. Bad comedy can be offensive, relying on lazy stereotypes for cheap laughs. Shane's best material is more nuanced than critics admit, but at the ESPYs, the problem was simpler. The jokes just didn't land. The monologue wasn't outrageous, it was forgettable. The audience wasn't shocked, they were bored. Controversy can build a brand, but being boring on a big stage is a professional failure. The ESPY's monologue didn't push boundaries, it just failed to entertain. In comedy, the first rule is simple: be funny. On this night, that rule was broken. Hosting an awards show is a unique art. It's not stand-up, it's not a podcast. The best hosts roast with affection, making the room feel like they're in on the joke. Think Jon Stewart, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, or Peyton Manning. They balanced sharpness with warmth. Shane's outsider persona didn't build rapport. He jumped straight into distant, sometimes contemptuous jokes. The ESPY's crowd isn't a comedy club, they're competitors, not primed to be taken down by a stranger. A successful host celebrates achievements while gently poking fun at the absurdity of it all. Shane never found that balance. The result: a defensive room and jokes that didn't land. Context is everything. A joke that kills in a club can die in a ballroom. On this night, the delicate balance was never achieved. The big takeaway from Shane Gillis at the 2025 ESPYs? Context is everything in comedy. A comedian who kills in one setting can flop in another if they don't adapt. Networks can't just chase buzz by hiring controversial figures and expect magic. The host and the event have to fit. For comedians, versatility and reading the room are crucial skills. The ESPY's monologue will be remembered as a misfire, not a scandal. It's a case study in how even the most popular comic can stumble on the wrong stage. In comedy, context is king, and on this night, the crown slipped.